This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the CEO of Regulus Resources, Mr. John Black. John, it's been a busy October for you. How are you?
Doing well, Gerardo, and lots of news in the company here.
Lots of news. The two most recent pieces of news you've added to your board, and of course, drilling has recommenced at Antiquary. I want to start with the board addition because it's an impressive name. Can you provide some context?
Yeah, I can. We've as many companies like ourselves, we tend to be exploration geologists and technical people, and oftentimes when a junior company starts out, you have a board that's with peers that are similar to you in experience and they understand what we're doing technically, and it's a comfortable board. But a common mistake that a group like ourselves makes is we get more geos and more technical people on our board. And what we really need oftentimes is to better balance our boards with adding people that have more business experience, more compliance experience and financial backgrounds. And so we were very fortunate in that Anna Tudela has agreed to join our board. And Anna has a very impressive background in corporate finance, corporate governance, and experienced on acting on boards, both for small companies and very large companies. Her most recent experiences was with Goldcorp. And she happens to also be bilingual. She's Peruvian originally, but has lived in Canada for a long time. So there were just so many points where she connected with our project and being able to have that connection with Peru, having the language capabilities to understand everybody throughout our organization, and also with that strong financial corporate governance background, which is very complementary to our strong technical board. So it's a great addition to our board, and it really rounds us out and makes us a stronger company overall.
I'm sure it's not a coincidence, John, that she also has a ton of experience in acquisitions.
Absolutely. That was one of the things that really caught our attention on this, is that she's been through multiple M&A scenarios over time and often heavily involved herself in the details of those. So that's an important thing. So with this, and I think people probably don't fully appreciate, but Jason Attu is relatively new to our board as well. He came on a couple of years ago, and Jason also gives us a similar complementary background to us in that he's been involved with a lot of M&A and a lot of corporate finance and knows the gold space well. And we're still predominantly a copper story, but we have increasing interest from the gold companies, and the gold companies are often much more active in the M&A scene. So with Jason a while back, and now particularly with Anna on the board, it really rounds us out. I'm really pretty pleased with the board that we have now.
Which is a perfect segue to the other piece of news that has been very material here in the past week or so, and that's the recommencement of drilling at Antiquary in Cajamarca, Peru. Can we talk about the focus of the geophysical targets at the Anta Norte portion of the property? Because this has the potential to be a game changer for Regulus and for Regulus shareholders, correct?
Absolutely. As you may recall, at the Antiquary project, we have a very nice resource in hand already, but we've been restricted due to permits to not be able to test a really interesting area to the north called Anta Norte. So Anta Norte is the northern portion of the overall Antiquary project. We just received the permits to be able to step into that early this year, and then the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to move the rigs onto it. But we're very pleased that we're now able to drill it. The drilling started last week with our first drill rig. We're getting ready. The second rig's getting in position now to start very soon. So we've been wanting to drill this for several years now, and we've had a slight delay due to the pandemic on this, but everything's set up now to be drilling actively.
Can you talk about previous drilling? You mentioned it in the release along the edges of the targets that returned long, and I mean long runs of significant mineralization. Can we talk about can you put that in context for me as it relates to where you're drilling now versus where you had those long runs of mineralization in the past?
Well, what we've been able to drill up to date on the project is we were using permits that we have access to due to our collaborative agreement with the mine next door, and that allowed us to drill about the southwest quadrant, the southwest 25 or 30% of the overall geophysical setting that we're interested in. And we put our drill rigs up to the northern boundary that we could drill from, and we angled many of those holes towards the north to try to get as close to these targets as we could. And we had a very, very encouraging success from those holes. So we're essentially probing the southern margin of the target area and reaching out as far as we can. Oftentimes, by the time we get to the bottom of the hole, we're quite a bit below the target, but we still gather information with those. And so we drilled about 11,000 meters into this southern margin of the target. And of that 11,000 meters, over 60% of the drilled meterage fell into reportable intervals. So that's a pretty strong hit rate on a project, and it includes some of our best holes with some lengthy runs of very, very encouraging copper gold grades. And so in a way, this is a big step out on the holes we're doing into Anta Norte, but we have peaks out in that direction from the previous drilling indicating that we're going in the right direction. So we're pretty excited about these holes as we start drilling into it. If the holes that we're drilling in Anta Norte now hit, it will add a substantial amount of mineralization to the northern side of the deposit.
Can you explain for those new to the story how you are approaching the initial holes, which will allow you to earn that 70% interest on this claim block, and how that contrasts with the 100% owned Regulus claims in the Anta Norte area?
Okay. The Anta Norte area is actually has several different types of land positions within it. Some of it's 100% held by Regulus, and some of it's held by a company called Kokirumi, which is a subsidiary company of Buenaventura. And we have an agreement with Buenaventura that will allow us to earn up to a 70% interest in the Kokirumi ground. To do that, we have to complete 7,500 meters of drilling. Once we've done that, we announce that we've earned the 70%, and Buenaventura then has a one-time window in which they can make a decision to allow us to stay at 70% or to elect to claw back and go to 70% Buenaventura, leaving us with 30%. To exercise that clawback clause, they would need to pay us US $9 million. We would strongly prefer to keep 70% of the project if we could. But $9 million US also helps us on moving our exploration forward. So for a variety of reasons, we felt it is best to start in that area, which is in the northwestern portion of the overall Anta Norte target. It allows us to complete that 7,500 meters of drilling quickly, arrive at that decision point to determine what percentage of the project we have, and that influences a little bit how we drill that ground in the future. And then over time, we'll begin to move to the southeast and move on to ground that's 100% held by Regulus. It's also influenced on where we have access to and weather conditions of some of the areas that are a little bit wet, so it's better for us to be drilling some areas now while it's the dry season, and we can drill other areas even when it's in the rainy season. So it's a combination of factors, but these initial target areas on Kokirumi are strong targets as well, but it helps us with the objective of determining what our future ownership of the Kokirumi block will be.
Sounds like a win-win, and I couldn't help but notice, and you mentioned it, that a second rig will arrive here within the next few days or commence drilling in the next few days.
Yeah, we're moving it on site right now, and we'll have that up and running quite soon here.
Fantastic. John, anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
No, it's just we're excited. We're very pleased to have the project up and running. We'll start to see the drill results coming out on a more regular basis right now, and it doesn't hurt at all that we're seeing a pickup in the copper price at this moment, which is something that we anticipate we'll continue to see over the next short period of time, as well as slightly longer period of time of an improved copper price. So it's a great time to be drilling on a on a copper project, and even better when your copper project has pretty significant precious metals with it as well.
One last thing, can you remind everyone of the cash position, because it's pretty robust?
Yeah, that was really the news that happened last month. It seems like a while ago now with everything happening. But our agreement with the Cisco royalties, which we announced on the 1st of October, was really critical, because that resulted in Cisco would be paying us $12.5 million US, or a little over $16 million Canadian. That deal should close in the next week or two, and we'll receive that payment, which will put us in a very good position to complete our phase 2 drilling program and beyond that as well. So without having to have dilution involved with issuance of new shares, this is a straight cash payment to us, which is very, very good for our current shareholders.
A lot of cash, a lot of gold, a lot of copper. Not a bad place to be, John.
No, we're pretty excited about it and look forward to be talking to you frequently over the next few months with drill results.
Thanks again for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Gerardo.